we're starting to get tired of bluegill patterns, so I wanted to do one little final video talking about this, and you probably won't see this kind of thing. I'm going to clear out this table, put everything kind of where it needs to go, and I'm going to try to go out today and hit some water, but I went and finally tracked down my fishing license, and picked up a few things while I was out, so I wanted to show you those real quick, and then we'll talk about these. The trailers we're going to start with anyway, using these when we finally get to the point where we're going to start our little competition on which one of these seems to just kind of work. You know, does it have anything magical about it, this color thing? So let me just talk real quick about what I picked up, the little haul we made at Scheels, which wasn't much of a haul. I just picked up a couple of these. I try to stay away from soft plastic fishing only unless I need to, but there's just a time when you have a little spark in your life. So spark shads, I picked up this color. It was on sale at Scheels for $5.99 instead of $10. And then this color, just because Vanessa thought she liked this color, and I was like, I'm not getting the big one. They had it in this size. I'm like, I tend to, smaller baits I like a little brighter. They stand out a little more. But spark shads are definitely fish catchers. It's just for $10. You can catch several fish on one, but the tails, they're not going to last a long time, in my opinion. But they definitely work and catch fish. So I just, since they were on sale and we were out there, I just like, I'll try them. Try them. I'll try these colors. I've tried them in the past. They definitely do work. So then I was at, I just ran up here. I'm real close to a Bass Pro and a Walmart. So I just went to Walmart and bought a fishing license, right? There's nothing that speaks more about that than going to Wally World to get your fishing license. But anyway, Charles knows about Ozark Trail. Some of you guys know about the Ozark Trail. Cheap, probably China knockoff stuff that they, are making for them. But yeah, made in China. It says right on it. Made in China. But anyway, I thought I'd show you some of those because we talked about, and I'll just show you one here briefly. You can get real cheap baits, like dollar baits at Wally World, and these actually work and catch fish. And then there's also like a slight upgrade from the cheapest of the stuff would be, I guess, Ozark Trail. They have put their branding on baits, but we picked up this little crank. When I was there, I think when I was there getting those other baits, I saw this and I'm like, I should get that. They're $2.50, basically the cost of what it's going to be from the AliExpress stuff. Now, I don't know if that's a knockoff of whatever, and I'm sure it is. It looks like some sort of Japanese one I've seen. I can't remember the name of it. I think I saw it up at Rogers. But I got that color just because you can never have too many of the ghost, not really ghost, but like a bone. And they do have a ghosty one up there. But I just figured I'd try that one for $2.50. And then this one, I will, I don't know why they added that flash in there, but it's got gold blades, Ozark Trail, half-ounce spinnerbait that I'm going to rip that skirt right off and put one of these bluegill patterns of some sort on it just to try it. You know, it's definitely cheaper made. This is the ones Charles uses and the blades go flying, I think. But anyway, that is like more or less a ball bearing swivel that is working. You need to check those. Anytime you go buy a spinnerbait, make sure I've seen them locked up before. Very small, but they don't need to be big. They're not holding any weight, but those little split rings are very thin. But honestly, that's kind of what you want. You don't want a lot of weight that it's having to mess with. So I don't know if I like how small the hook is, but we're going to try that, dude. You know, $2.50, just another bait I can throw my, where's that? What did I do with that other spinner bait? Just another one that I can try out one of these bluegill colors on. Well, I can't even, where did I put it? Well, I don't know what happened to it. My other AliExpress knockoff that I actually have a bluegill. I don't know. Anyway, moving on along with what we do have going on here with our bluegill deals. Let me move that out of the way before I get it all mixed up. So I finally have them rigged up on their intended chatterbait that we're going to try. So I was going to go through that real quick. These aren't in the mix. These aren't in the mix either. So the little sub thing I have going on, if you guys remember right, Trey Harper, Omega Custom Tackle, I'm not sure who owns it now, what's going on or whatever, but back in the day, sure, I think it was right around when I first started making videos, I picked up the shellcracker. Now this isn't it. This is our closest I can get so far with the skirting material I found. This is one of the original blades and all, except I had to put a different skirt on it because the original one did fall apart. But their bluegill pattern, that shellcracker, the Rapture jig, is a very good working bait because it when a hunting pattern is required. So I'm going to try this, but I may need to try a different trailer to where it gets its true hunting in. So that started this whole thing. So inside the little test I'm doing is I've got this rigged up. Now these have a gold blade. So I've got one of these rigged up on the original Rapture jig. But then I also rigged one up on our, is it that one? Yeah. With the gold blade on one of the AliExpress knockoffs, the Jackie Hamas. So those two, that is called Hollywood Craw from Boss Baits. But then what my favorite one is, I've got rigged up on a jackhammer, and that's from Dirty Jigs, just a bluegill 2. But these baits don't have a gold blade. So the jackhammer doesn't have a gold blade, and then I also rigged up the other Omega Custom Tackle Rapture. I forget the original color this was, but with the Dirty Jigs without a gold blade. So I am going to be fishing these like from the get-go once I finally get out and I'm trying out chatterbaits, whether they're black and blue, some sort of white, or the more, green pumpkin-y type, which bluegill or whatever. So when the bite does come around, which it will at some point, there's always times when that bluegill pattern just does seem to work, and we'll be able to compare those 4 baits to try to figure out if is one skirt better than the other, is a jackhammer better than a regular, all that kind of little inside comparison things going on. But then these are the ones that I'm going to leave. Now these I might alter somewhat. These are going to be left alone other than the trailers we're going to use. But that, and these are all 3/8 ounce jackhammer knockoffs with the gold blade. And so, and we narrowed it down. If you haven't watched the other video, this started with 9. I just decided the others I wasn't even going to try. But so we've got the Hollywood Craw. We've got the 6th Sense one, which I think that was called Fire Gill in there. Definitely bright. And we've got the other, I don't even remember the name of this one. This is the Do It Molds. Do It Old School Gill. That's right. I always keep forgetting that one. But the Old School Gill, which is crazy insanely bright. So the darker, the dirtier, the nastier, the darker the day, dirtier the water. That's probably the one that would shine, I would imagine. Then we've got the 2 more or less same baits, the bluegill patterns from Z-Man and Boss. If you guys can tell which one's which, that's the Z-Man. The longer chartreuse is the Z-Man. Other than that, they're very, very close. They're in the mix. And then the one, like I told you, that is my favorite, the Dirty Jigs Bluegill 2. So those 6 are going up head to head, and you may not be able to tell any bit of difference in any one of these you go and use would probably work. But I would say if out of any of them, these 2 are going to shine different at a different time when maybe these 4. And then these, if you peel off some of that chartreuse, would put them closer to these other 2, to where if you leave all that, they're a little more intense, closer, like in between. So technically, I've kind of already put them myself in a category without even fishing them. You got the darkest water, darkest days would be these, then that in between, and then as it's the clearest or whatever. Now, if it got super, super crazy clear, you may even want to peel, if it's almost where only green pumpkin's going to work kind of thing. This one is probably the most natural. Then this one, either of these 2 really, probably the Boss over the Z-Man, just because the Z-Man starts out with more chartreuse, and then you would go with the what do I call that? Fire Craw or Fire Gill or whatever it is, and then the Old School Gill if I had to just right there by the color, how bright to then more natural they get. But they're all going to go head to head, and I'm not going to throw any of them until I feel I'm on some sort of thing, just the way we start kind of with a new skirt and go from there. So a couple others I've thrown in the I put together was I put one of these crazy, I decided to rig these crazy bright ones up on a couple different things. So I took our, this is the only thunder cricket I have. I painted that head, added a little, just a little color to it. This is 5/8 ounce though. And that fire gill, rigged it up on that one, and then I took the other bright crazy deal and rigged it up on just a, you know, jackhammer knockoff to also have rigged up ready to go. So I've got the kind of brighter ones, because these are a little different. All these up here, they're probably closer to these, but most of the actual bluegills that I have already pre-made aren't quite as intense as either of these two, with as much yellow intensity, I guess, other than maybe the big blade. But it's got a lot of orange, blue, and yellow that I take off. So anyway, that's kind of what we have going on with that. So when I start out, though, and I almost started to rig them up yesterday, and I'm going to start all fresh. So the original plan is once I start getting some kind of bite on, unless I have totally switched to a trailer, then I'll just put that trailer on these and then get out there to do the testing. The plan is to start with a pack of these. So I have its own little pack just set aside to when I decide to put them on. I'll rig up these right here, Baby Rage Baby Menace, Green Pumpkin, Purple and Gold Fleck is what it is. But these are definitely, and here's one already kind of worn in, out. On this camera, they are a little lighter, in my opinion, in person than they are showing up on this camera. Yeah, they're definitely a lighter color in person. This camera's showing them a little darker than they actually are, in my opinion. This color is like crazy dark in person, and it's got a hint of not being, it's not black, but it's very dark green pumpkin, like very dark. So anyway, that's the plan. Now, with these, if you guys have these, you can use, if you have any kind of a natural, you know, if you're not using, well, technically you could use it on some of the black and blue or black or darker jigs, but unless you're using like a white or white chartreuse, you can almost start using any of these other trailers, even if you're trying to, you know, it's a bluegill pattern, but you want to throw a crawl trailer on it, that it's not the end of the world kind of thing. But if you want to go crazy bright and had a little thump to it, these things make a pretty good noise, and I've used them in the past. So I just realized I was totally out, and I was like, well, I should try, and where's it at? So I wanted to try this color of them. So I could easily, you know, probably rig one of these on there instead of the Z-Man if I wanted to, or if I wanted to go with the crazy brighter ones. But then also, if you want to make them look bigger, you can get into the like bigger twin tail grubs, or the, oh shoot, I should have pulled one out here, the Strike King Rage Craw, or, you know, it just depends. I like the slender profile stuff that lets the bait hunt around. But then you could also go to any of these. This one's a little big for them, but you could always cut down this a little bit and then do that kind of stuff. Or you could just jump to any of these, you know, the smaller, I guess, a few different colors here. All right, let me set these down. So we'll try to show you any of these different colored swim baits just to get, you know, if you're looking for a more natural, you could cut the tails off. You can even go with these little, not really intended to go on the back, because that's all some of this other stuff is. And then what you can do, I've done in the past, you can slap just the old worn out Cinco or Zinkers on, or Zinkers is best because they last forever. Or what I which I've done it in the past, but I just watched another video, and I believe it was Jason Christie is who I heard say it. I'm like, yeah, because I've done that in the past, is you can get the, where are they at? You can just use the swimming dingers also. Make excellent little trailers for chatterbaits or spinnerbaits or, whatever, really, for that matter. I'm not really I got these to fish by themselves. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan. I just as soon use a Zinkers over these any day just for rigging them up like on a shaky head or by themselves, in my opinion. But like utilize them since I have, I got this color, bass, a couple other colors. Utilizing them for smaller trailers, just get what length you want, cut them down. I wouldn't recommend sticking one the full length on these. But swimming dinger, any of these cheaper swim baits, even back in the day, I used to I liked the smaller, like the little fuzzy beaver, the reaction innovation smallie beavers, stuff like that. Especially if I don't fish this way, but if you're like trying to pull them up and then killing them, or the slower the presentation, honestly, the more profile of what that bait looks like a crawdad. Even though you got a crawdad on a bluegill pattern may not be the best thing. If you just get close to the color match, these I've kind of rigged up and made. And if you want crazy flapping going on, you can get some of these bigger ones. They're like, they make the baby Rage Menace, and they even make a bigger Magnum Menace or something, I think you could get if you want that bigger thing. But I stick to the, 3.3, 3-inch, 3.5-inch, some kind of swim bait on the back. I like the baby Rage Menace. The trick to it, that's what I'm going to start with. I just feel it's the best bet, especially on these knockoffs, is you don't go all the way on with the baby Rage Menace. So what I do is, and I'll just go ahead and rig this one up. It's already chewed to pieces. As I come up, and I always just put it like I would a crawl sideways. You could, if you want to imitate a fish, though, you could, and we'll do this one like that, come up and rig it on sideways. So I try to rig them to where on the knockoffs and almost like the jackhammers, you want the head to reach right where the lead starts, basically. So it just gets the nose onto that hook keeper. I may have went a little too far on this one. Now, if you need to, you can trim off some of these skirt material or whatever. But I try to have it to where just where the skirt stops right where the tail starts. But you can rig on these Rage to where there's like a sideways profile, looks like legs. I always just leave them like the regular way. But like on some of these, it may not look right, because I also I don't like, if I'm fishing the 3/8, I want it to jump around, and I don't want it to look huge, if that makes sense. So even though they're basically the same, you go pick one up and they come with like let me show you with this one. So even though like you got the 5/8, I guess I rigged one up on that, but you have like the big 5/8 ounce and the little 1/4 ounce. I like to make my smaller, lighter baits, even though they're basically intended for the same thing, to just have a smaller look, more finessey look to them, because they're usually going a little slower, and a lot of times it gives a fish more time to look at them. And in my opinion, just like me, when you're trying to look at something smaller, it's harder to, what am I looking at for sure? So it's not that the fish necessarily want to eat something smaller. It's just as they're coming up, if they're more finicky about something, now it's going to get you more bites, maybe not a bigger bass, but even a bigger bass is easier to fool if it's harder to make out exactly what he's looking at. It's got everything he wants, but it's in a smaller form, and it's like it's not out in his face. Because if you get too big, too bold, too bright, every fish out there can go, that's a fake, before they ever even get up on it. You want to give them that little bit of, is that something? And I think that's one of the reasons why a TRD just works so good. It's just this little thing back there bouncing, and it looks like a fish that's, in my opinion, it looks like a little fish that is always turning to where the bigger fish can never see its full side profile. It thinks that TRD is literally, not letting it turn. That's what I think it is. That's why I think it's so good. They're just like, oh, I'll show you. I'm going to eat you because you're not, it's almost like little bait fish is staring down a bigger fish, and they do not, it's just something they've never seen. I think that's my opinion on a TRD, because it looks like nothing. It's just this little thing, and it amazingly catches like big, little everything. And it's even been now used for years, and it still will work. If you fish a TRD, you will still catch fish. I don't know, and it doesn't look like anything. At least the fuzzy things they got now, I can see where there's action and movement in those. There's like no explaining a TRD. So anyway, I'm going to end this video. Hopefully you like that. If you have any more questions, you're like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? Like, there's too many. You do not need this many bluegill patterns. Before getting out and doing any fishing and getting these all clustered up, I'm throwing them in a Ziploc bag, and we're just going to wait until it's time, and I'll pull them out along with that package of Baby Rage Menace, and then we'll put them to work. Honestly, after even all of this going through, I think I still like the dirty jig. So if I were picking out skirt material to imitate a bluegill for me, that dirty jigs is hard to beat. I will say though that this skirting is funky. I feel it's a little bit less stout, because what I tried to do was on one of these other ones, not one of these. One of these I tried to move a few strands of blue over, and I felt like trying to, go in there and pull a strand out. It's not as forgiving as a silicone as some of these. Some of these, like, they feel like they stretch forever before they'll actually break. And the dirty jigs in that, but they come like I think they have like over 50 different colors of their jig 5-packs or whatever, all very good colors. And you don't need to get nitpicky. You can just throw one of those on in the color you're kind of looking for, and they're going to be fine. So anyway, we got that going on, and I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. I would go with dirty jigs or the Boss, the Hollywood Craw, or my, like, so far 2 picks. Like, I don't need to buy any more bluegill pattern anything for quite a while, but I don't plan on buying any more of these unless one of these other colors just kicks in, and like if one of those just instantly starts being a fish catcher for me, then yeah. But as of right now, probably buy another pack of the dirty jigs. I've got like 1 or 2 left just to have on hand, because I feel this one, even if I wanted to, I could pull a couple strands of orange or whatever. It's just a very natural bluegilly type color. So anyway, guys, hopefully you like this. If I still had to pick one just to go buy, like, what do you recommend to buy on a bluegill pattern? It is probably still these little, well, let me find the original one. This is quarter, but man, those mini max, they're hard to beat, because you can just, I think they're $7.99 or $6.99 at Rogers maybe, but get a 1/4 ounce and then a 3/8 ounce, and then go get you a 1/2 ounce. Let me show you the new one. 1/2 ounce big blade, because it lets it jump around more. Put a small trailer on. Get a 1/4 ounce to float up higher in the column. You can fish it kind of slow and it stays up high. But then get a 3/8 ounce mini max and then a 1/2 ounce. Or if you want a big, if you want to fish deeper, then yeah, get the bigger. Well, they have it. I think they have these. Is it all the way up to 1 ounce or 5/8 or something? But anyway. But these two are probably, if I just, buying the baits already pre-made, a bluegill chatterbait, those are definitely hard to beat. But you can still get the customs, but for no more than the mini maxes, especially than a custom, a couple dollars more per bait. Like I got those because I'm going to be trying them, kind of thing. But yeah, your money, in my opinion, is especially if you're fishing in smaller bodies of water for smaller fish, that mini max in a bluegill pattern is hard to beat. Now, if you're ever out where, Florida, you're in a place where there's big fish, that big blade, get one of each of the size. What is it? I think they start out at 1/2 ounce. Yeah, I think they're 1/2, 3/4. I don't know, but anyway, I think there's 2 or 3 sizes. Then yeah, that's hard to beat. It thumps good. I guess I don't know. It definitely, I think, in my opinion, takes a little more of a combo than what the Mini Max does. But if you're used to fishing the bigger jackhammers or the Z-Man Originals, this is pretty much right there with those. Oh, actually, there's also this Z-Man one too, and there's other companies. Picasso. Oh shoot, I had the name on the tip of my tongue. The other one, Phoenix. A couple other that make Omega Custom Tackle has a. They don't have the Rapture Custom shellcracker, but they do sell a something gill. I forget what it's called. In I believe it's gold blade and a bluegill color pattern. Omega Custom Tackle, and they're like $12.99 or $13.99, something like that. But it'll come pretty much exactly like this with a different skirt, and it's like a dual. I think that one's a dual skirt. So it's like the outer here, and then it comes with the one where you technically don't need to put a trailer on it. So anyway, let's see here. Yeah, these are pre-made. Now I do have intentions to start, and I've kind of I've never really put all of the colors together, but I've definitely customized a lot of these. And so with old material, maybe taking a couple skirts and mixing them of these bluegill ones. Yes, I plan on adding some colors to different ones. I've never really went and bought the individual bands, put and then laid them over each other and then tied them or done any of that. But I've done custom stuff to, especially like these. I've added, I went and bought that the peanut butter and jelly jigs I got going on. I went and bought this live rubber purple and brown, and then I since then added some of those on my little bluegill ones, because one of the little side notes on these Z-Man, the Mini Maxes, I don't feel that the skirting, that wire tie, I've had them pop loose after not too many fish or not too long of usage, so you got to be careful with those. I would recommend, when I first get them, if you want to keep them lasting, I'd at least recommend to maybe either retie them with maybe just a couple strands of thread and then put a drop of super glue, or just put a drop of super glue here and there. Because out of, I think maybe this one, I think out of the 4 or 5 I have, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that one's brand new. I don't even think I fished it yet. That one I had to, it was sliding and falling apart. I want to say this one, yeah. See the red thread I had to retie it. This one was falling apart. So what is that called? Batting 500, that you're going to have an issue before the bait is worn out. So it'd be a good idea. Now, so far, this dude, I don't think I've done anything. I've set and peeled a skirt off of it and stuff like that. But the tie has lasted on that one. I've got a white one somewhere around here. This one I don't think I've even used, or definitely not used enough to be able to tell. I think I've just thrown it a handful of times. And then the other ones, these all seem, I've yet to use these. They're just regular like banding. I think these are hand tied too. The one I've used somewhat, I don't think, one of these, I don't know, I always got them mixed up. I tried to keep one of those in my day box kind of thing, and the other one was just in my box. Oh, I did add just a hint of red. I wanted to tone down that belly. I probably ought to put another coat just to tone down that crazy bright color. But those catch fish right like that. I mean, they're definitely fish catchers. Every pattern, I'm sure, will catch fish. Just like we got, if you guys, Brew Tank got me, I got a fireball pattern I'm working on. I got to add a little something to it to make it fireball. It's basically just taking those ones you get off AliExpress and peeling quite a bit of the red off. It makes it that more subtle cinnamon whiskey thing, and then I paired it with that. And that's also the gremlin from Z-Man that I cut down. I'm trying. Not tried it yet. Have no idea. That gremlin is too much for definitely to use as trailer material, but I'm trying to find a Z-Man, a Lastech trailer that will actually, I feel, get as bit as what some of these. Like if you show a couple trailers that just flat out work, would be the Baby Rage Menace, just any sort of a worm or straight tail, that lets the bait jump more, to a regular, just a swim bait, are about the best trailers I've tried. Or Reaction Innovations, the Smalley Beaver, this little Little Fuzzy, I think it's called, seemed to work pretty good. When I put anything Z-Man on, and where's that bait? I was going to try to show you guys. When I put any Z-Man trailers other than Zinkers, I just don't get bites. But I've tried, now this one I was trying to rig some of the stuff in it, make it kind of like a UV one, cutting a little bit. But I've tried the palmetto bugs on the bigger chatterbaits. I've tried whatever that dude is called. The only bait that works, but you got to do a lot of cutting onto it, are the goats. So if you put the little bitty goat on the little bitty chatterbaits, you know, the micros, minis, or whatever, the little goat works good. What do they call that? The baby goat. And then the goat works for these, and then the billy goat on like the big blade and stuff. But you have to cut the body. So on those, I think I've got them buried in my box. I literally cut the body on any of those goats, except for the little bittiest one, to basically be as slender as this. It takes all that bulk out, and then I just let the flaps of the goat tails work like these do. Then it's definitely right there with these. So I don't know, just in the hassle of doing that, and then the minute you do put a Z-Man bait on, you can't really leave it because you just throw it. If you're not paying attention, you throw it in your box with something else, and then it melts and all that. So in order to get, I don't know, it's hard to explain what I'm trying to say here, but I'm tempted to just do away with Z-Man other than my worms. So like the finesse worms, the other stuff. But then on the side note, I've also, though, trying to utilize the small Ned rig type stuff, right? Because we all have that. So I guess I'm got like a last hope to try to find something for my chatterbait trailers other than having to do a ton of cutting. Because it's, even though it's more expensive, if you just get these from AliExpress, they're not that expensive. And then the fact that it's just so easy to slap one of these on, no fuss, no muss. You just put one of these on, like I mentioned, and it's a fish attractant catcher, like the Baby Rage Menace, the Rage Menace on any of the bigger, you know, half ounce or bigger ones. It's not, it's kind of either or. You can put the Menace on a little further than you can the Baby Rage because it's a little longer, or on a jig, or the chatterbaits if you want to go to the Rage Craw and that kind of stuff. The Z-Man stuff, the Helicraws, and some of these others. I've tried almost everything. I feel just like I'm going to be doing a comparison on these. When I get out there and just start fishing it, all the Z-Man trailer stuff does not work as efficiently as the non-stuff. Now, when I'm fishing TRD, like the little finesse stuff, and when I'm fishing a shaky head worm or a finesse worms, or any bottom bouncing type bait like that, I prefer the Z-Man stuff because I feel it gets just as many bites. Sometimes the colors, like the purple haze, the sprayed grass, there's a couple others, they just go on fire. And like I've kind of compared those to the Ocho, I don't think I've ever bought a pack of original like Cincos, but I don't really fish wacky style, and I don't really fish that way. I fish with just that profile on bottom, being either jerked around or just being slightly pulled. Like they either want it one way or the other. Zinkers last forever. And then when you're done with it, you can either cut it in half and use it as a TRD, or you can cut it to whatever length you want and throw it on the back of one of these, and you've got trailers. I mean, it's just, it's hard to go wrong with those. And Strike King also, Z-Man makes them for Strike King, a couple, I forget what they call that. Not the perfect plastic, but whatever. So anyway. All right, guys, I'm going to get off here. Tonight, at some point, I'm clearing off all this. These are going in a Ziploc. We're going to get our stuff organized. I'm going to start. If I don't go hit the water today, I'll be surprised, but I'm going to try to, starting next week, actually getting out with our rod and reel combos and hitting the water with them. And then somebody commented in a couple years I was into shooting or whatever. I spent more money these few months getting ready for bass season than I did the whole year and whatever, and all the pistols, all the stuff I'd bought. Like I went nuts this year with the combos and some of the stuff. You know, So anyway, we're getting into it. We're going. We're going to see if our Dobbins rod, our loser reels, and a couple of our loser combos are going to compare with our Mega Bass and our Daiwa reels, Mega Bass rods. But then we've got the NRX Pluses. We're going to do a little bottom bouncing stuff. I would be surprised if I can't go out and catch a fish on every bait you're looking at here. It should be 100%. Even this right here, rigged exactly like it is, this should catch a bass. How long do I want to throw it and try? That's a different story. And then I've got these three rigged up, just waiting to go. I'm not even sure which way I want to go, rig up or whatever. I don't need any more bluegill pattern stuff, but I may go ahead and maybe use one of these for my black and bluegill pattern I'm working on. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with the others. I may just throw them in the box and have them as spares. So what was I going to talk about this? No. I took this dude out. He's already been drugged through the yard a couple times. I was like, well, I wanted to see what my blade felt like throwing, a chunk of plastic, a 5/8 ounce chatterbait, and it's not swimming it, but I was just casting it yard. I made sure I didn't hit concrete or nothing, just to plus tone down the color of this thing. I'm like, will that like knock off any of the shine to it? And I guess it probably did. If you look at this, these started out like identical, and it's definitely just toned it down a hair. So, and they all do that just in the normal fishing them through water, out in the sun. Everything, the brightness you get, it tends to, on skirting material, tends to tone down, just ever so, like especially if it's crazy bold and bright and loud, it all tends to, kind of just like what what the Bass Pro Carbon Light white turns to yellow, that kind of thing. The sun, the beating, the elements, even just running it through dirty water. Dirty water in a sense is kind of like a sandpaper. There's little particles in there as So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Get out, go bass and bonsai. Whatever you do, don't go buy 50 million bluegill skirts trying to prove a point. But we're gonna do it. See you later.